This is the night President Joe Biden will deliver his State of the Union address before a joint session of Congress.
It is a high-stakes moment as he also looks to convince voters to give him a second term in the White House.
Biden is battling low approval numbers, questions about his mental sharpness, and a stalled bill in the Republican-controlled House that would address border security. We want to bring in our exclusive WPBF 25 News political analyst to talk more about what's expected tonight. Welcome former Florida House Majority Leader Adam Hasner and former Congressman Ron Klein. Gentlemen, let's get right into it. At a time, Ron, we're going to start with you. At a time when congressional infighting and instability, can we expect to hear from the president about the crisis at the border, urging Republicans to pass the failed border bill?
An issue. I think most Americans expect something to be done. A bipartisan bill came forward from the Senate, and President Biden supported it. So I'm sure he's going to lay the at least part of the story on the fact that let's get together, let's make it happen, let's move forward, and it's going to be the responsibility of Congress to take some action.
Adam, Biden is expected to announce a plan to establish a port in Gaza to deliver aid. This comes, though, as he is facing scrutiny within even his own party for not calling a permanent ceasefire. Can you speak on this divide?
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of the big issues. He has to show that he has a grasp on all of the foreign policy issues that are on fire right now, Ukraine as well as Israel. And this is a position that no one really expected. It's a little bit out of the mainstream. And I would expect you're going to hear some rumbling from the floor of the House of Representatives from folks who are very much opposed to this type of maneuvering by the White House, utilizing our military to set up this port on the Gaza seaport. So I don't expect it to go over well in the chamber tonight.
And Ron, with Super Tuesday behind us, we now know we are looking at a Biden-Trump rematch. What do you make of national polls that show a widespread lack of enthusiasm for either candidate, but also show Trump with a narrow lead over Biden? Do you think the president will talk at all about Trump tonight?
I think he probably will. I don't know if he's going to use the word or name Trump, but he will probably use the term MAGA. He will probably talk about the former president. I think he will probably make a lot of positions which are in direct contrast to things that he believes in and that he has carried forward, that he thinks the former president, will take us backward. And he's chaotic, he's dangerous. By the way, I just want a quick point on Adam's point on the Gaza. I think most Americans feel like there's a civility side of this thing that we can be helpful to the innocent civilians. So I think that's what the president's trying to get at. But I think he needs to stand strong, and he has been strong on making sure we get the hostages out before a ceasefire occurs.
Adam, reproductive rights obviously have been in the news lately. It's likely to be a focus tonight. Why is this topic so important for voters to hear tonight?
Yeah, I think the Democrats have used the abortion issue as a very effective wedge issue. I think you're going to hear a lot about that. You're going to hear a lot about IVF. And I think that the Democrats have been able to, I think, drive a wedge, particularly with suburban Republicans, more moderate Republicans, on this issue. I think it'll be interesting. Maybe not as many people will stay around to watch U.S. Senator Katie Britt providing the Republican response. But I think she will address those issues head on, especially being from Alabama, where they just recently signed the legislation into law about legalizing or ensuring the legality of IVF. So yes, expect to hear that amongst the foreign policy issues, amongst the border issues in tonight's State of the Union.
All right, Adam Hasner, Ron Klein, gentlemen, thank you both for joining us tonight.